Welcome back. It's another week of Real Talk with Real Producers. Today we're going to talk about by request.
By request.
Yep.
See, we respond to those.
We did. What changes should I make to my house to get the most bang for the buck? Now, we're going to specify this up front. We're not talking about what changes I should make to live in the house. We're not talking about what to look for while we're buying. We're not talking about any of those things. We're specifically talking about changes that you should make if your intention is to sell your home in the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. Okay? So very, very limited to that. And we're not going to look at the grander scale of this, simply home prep.
Yeah.
Best practices.
Yeah.
Okay? First step. First thing we're going to talk about is, one, decide if your house is a good candidate for updates or upgrades.
Okay. I think home type is the first section here, and certain homes carry a very specific feel, and a lot of people that live in like the inner city, you see a lot of like 50s and 60s Ramblers, and those houses will turn relatively quickly in general. But you have to be really cautious of how much you spend in your updates. So this is going to tie in really perfectly to that. Then you have 2 stories, 3 and 4 level splits. You have modified 2 stories. You have ranch style homes that are, of a later era and carry a different home, type and feel.
So you mix the home type, mm-hmm. which honestly all different home types can fit into that category. Mm-hmm. So there are best case scenarios, right? So 2 stories and Ramblers by far make the best options for upgrades. So you're already on the right track if you have one of those. Yep. That being said, split levels, 3 level splits, all these other different types of homes can make really good candidates too, but we need to mix that with floor plans, right? Yep. For example, a split level with a tight log jammed entrance split. Yeah. You already have such a huge deal killer for the large majority of the population, mm-hmm. is that it's very unlikely to be able to pair that with good quality updates because you're not going to be able to overcome that tight.
Yeah, somebody's going to walk in to make a decision if they want it or not.
Doesn't matter how nice your kitchen is, right? You're already there. Then on top of that, and this is important for all homes, is location. Yeah. Are we close to nice, high quality restaurants?
Walkability, trails, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Is it something where your buyers are going to want to move into and there's going to be that excess demand that updates would demand a mm-hmm. higher price?
Yeah. And then lastly is comps, like what's selling around you, because that will be a major consideration for how much can I spend on the inside of this thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you're already at the top of what things are selling for, when you purchase it, there's very little as far as margin for updates that you have.
And this is this is when everybody comes back. They say, don't be the most expensive house in the block, right? Right. So if you are, honestly, that's fine, but don't try to become the even more expensive house in the block, right? If you're going to upgrade, make sure that there's support in those higher price points in your close proximity.
Correct.
Okay. So one, you decide that your house could be a candidate for for updates or upgrades, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. Second piece. And this is something that people forget about, and this bogs a lot of people down, is that personally, are you and or your family a good candidate for remodeling? Yeah. Getting your home ready? Yeah. Life is busy. Yeah. You're going to work, you're doing your fun activities, mm-hmm.
Kids sports, kids school events.
Right.
You name it. You're like, if you have a family with kids, especially if your kids are in sports, you are bell to bell.
Yep. So you still have to do those things. Yeah. Right? So now your downtime or your weekends that normally you relax and unwind, guess what that is now?
Yeah. It's renovation.
Are you prepared to take your kitchen out and then live within that? Yeah. What about really identify and break down your personal opportunity costs? Right. Right?
Right. Like, are you willing to give that stuff up? Like, I remember when we bought our property, I had to give up 60 days of my work, really. I mean, I gave that up. Mm-hmm. That cost me money. Yep. So I took the cost of my renovation and then I added what I was no longer making during those months because I had to give up a lot of work to make that happen.
Right. And it's not all financial either. Right. Is the $10,000, $15,000 extra that I could potentially make worth missing 6 months worth of weekends with my family.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a big one, right?
So look into that.
And then the other opportunity cost that you miss with, in that year time frame that you're going to be renovating, because very rarely are you going to get a renovation done in 60 days. You know what I mean? You're really looking at least 6 months, but more often than not, with your life still being lived, you're looking at a year.
You are.
Right? So has the market increased for what you're looking for in that time frame? Likely. Yeah. And if you're upgrading, the percentage that things went up is usually going to outweigh the percentage of what you're going to gain in terms of your sale.
Yeah, we can break. We talked about this example is that let's say that you're renovating a house that's worth $250 today, and your renovations are going to make it worth $300,000, right? Now you're going to be buying into a $500K price bracket, right? Now let's say that market, which $300K to $500K, at least in our market in Minnesota, will appreciate right next to each other, right? So that $300K house is now going to be worth $300,000 to $9,000 in a 3% appreciating market. Now that $500K house is now $515,000, right? So now that extra money that you just made, you just lost 6 of it on your purchase because of that year of appreciation.
Exactly.
So be mindful of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you have to really decide, like, this year of my life that I'm spending, which has a value to it, plus the cost of my new property, which has a monetary value to it, combined, I mean, it's a double loss in a lot of cases, right? So just be very, very, very cautious.
Yep. So the first thing is just deciding, does your house fit? Even if it does fit, does it fit for me? Now, okay, so now you've defined that your house matches. Personally, you're prepared to make that change. We're ready to do what it takes. Third, and honestly, this is important too, do you have the budget to make this make sense? Right? So identify what you're working with. Are you under $5,000 that you can spend? Are we up to $10,000? Is it a whatever it takes type of budget?
Right.
Now this budget isn't as easy as going to the bank and saying, I need to get a home loan to do that. Right? In order to get a cash out home equity line of credit, you have to have a significant amount
of equity in the house already.
So if you don't have that significant amount of equity, and by significant amount, I mean you're going to have close to 50% for it to make any sense.
Right, because the bank will only let you go up to
20%.
20%.
Yep.
Right.
So if we don't have that big equity, and I mean big equity, then your only thing that you can do is to have liquid resources available. To you, right?
Right, and then you have to factor in, like, if you're going to take credit out against your property, there's closing costs that are associated with that, which you're going to lose, right? On average, you're doing a refinance or something like that, you might be able to squeak by at 2%, on a refinance. But in most cases, you're at 2.5 to 3, pending who you go to.
Now, home equity lines of credit are cheaper, but you're still paying interest on that money every month.
Every single month. Right? Because when you do that, you still have your escrows and all that stuff that you got to factor back in, right? All that stuff is definitely in there.
All right. So we're through the first 3 steps, and this is just seeing if it works for you. So yes, my home makes sense. Yes, I'm a candidate for that personally. And yes, my budget makes sense. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we're actually going to do in our houses.
Okay.
Step 1, and this is the go-to for everybody. This is all they ever think about. Kitchens.
All day long.
Right? How often do you walk into a showing and people don't say, I'm going to blow this wall out and I'm going to do an open concept kitchen?
Yeah, every single time.
Yep, that's what people want to do, and that's where people think that their money should go, and largely it probably makes sense, but most of it as we go through this, it's not about spending the big money, it's not about the big structural changes. So we're just going to go through the things that we could do, and we're going to say yes, no, and give a little bit of information on that. So layouts, talking about breaking down walls, generally speaking. No.
Yeah, generally speaking, no, it doesn't make sense to do that. Unless you bought something that was so cheap. Like you had to have really got it at a low price point to justify moving walls and reorganizing your kitchen.
But even then, because what you just described is a flipping opportunity, that's a rehab opportunity, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about getting your house ready to sell. Should we be breaking down walls?
Generally speaking, the answer is no.
It's going to be you're going to spend $25,000 just on your cabinet package by the time you do that.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
So stay away from structural changes. Number 1.
Yeah.
Countertops.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All day long. Countertops are every single house I walk into, if they have laminate or any other kind of countertop in there, that if it's dated or what have you, the answer is yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Every time.
Now you can do this in a cost-effective way. Go to the remnants pile, you know, at your local granite place.
Well, you know, not all places have that. So you got to remember, you know, talk to one of us. Obviously, we can help you and we can guide you to a place where there's options for you, where you might not pay, you know, the actual price of granite. You might be able to pick something up that somebody turned back in when they were building the house, it didn't work, and they're selling it at a discount.
Yep.
Okay. Backsplashes. Yes.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially, and then make sure that you're pairing that with the countertop.
Yeah.
That you just picked out. You don't want those things clashing. You don't want to be going busy, and making your kitchen feel all noisy. And you also don't want to make it overly cold where we go flat and flat. We want to make sure that we're picking out stuff that plays with your cabinet finishes, your flooring finishes, and then you also want your countertop and backsplash to work with each other.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then we'll help you make those decisions. And you know, we employ a designer for this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So include us in on that. Fixtures.
Light fixtures, and yeah, 100% of the time.
Yep. Fixtures are cheap and they're easy and they transform spaces.
Yep.
Hardware. This is like your knobs and your pulls.
Absolutely.
Best couple $100 you can spend.
Without question. However, this is my pet peeve. Do not stick a knob in the center of your cabinet. Holy crap. It looks awful every time. It's like, I understand if that's like your practical brain thinking, but it looks terrible.
It doesn't look good.
It looks so bad.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Again, before you plug them in, talk to us.
Yes.
Tell you where. Cabinets, don't do new. Refinishing, dynamite.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, you know, sometimes it may make financial sense to replace doors to get a different panel style that's maybe more current.
Yep.
And keep the boxes.
Yep.
You know, sometimes that can make financial sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's not tear cabinets out and redo them, because you're either going to buy a terribly low budget cabinet package that's actually going to degrade your house, or you're going to overspend on something that's quality.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep. Did we talk about flooring?
Flooring's important too.
Every time.
It's absolutely important.
Every time, especially if you have that old linoleum that's in there. Maybe it's dated, doesn't really fit with everything else that you've done.
Refinishing hardwoods.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then the other one, we didn't put this on here, but appliances.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, yes. Absolutely. Your appliances need to fit the trend of whatever hardware you're putting in there. They need to be in a similar family to whatever light fixture that you've switched it out to. Yeah. Those things all need to kind of come together and fit within each other.
Yeah, and that can mean white appliances.
Yeah,
it can mean black appliances. It can mean stainless, or it can I keep forgetting that new dark stainless that they have.
Yeah.
So you can't just put stainless anywhere and say it's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So match it. You don't need to overspend on something, because a white fixture or a white appliance may work really well.
It can look really nice.
Yep.
Yep. I've seen it done and done well.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on to bathrooms. A lot of people get caught up on this one, and most of the time.
Even I got caught up on this one this morning.
We had a long discussion this morning.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And the first one is that people want to know is the tiling.
Yeah. Even if you have a preference and you like it.
Probably not.
It more than likely doesn't make financial sense.
Yep. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And then so no to tiling. Generally speaking, if you have a tub that's fiberglass, or you have
this is price point specific too. You get into higher price points where it's an expectation for resale. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But more often than not, the answer is no.
Yeah. So and honestly, only in that price point is if something's broken.
Right.
That needs to be replaced. So if we have a tub that's not functioning. Then the question can be, do we tile it or do we replace it with the fiberglass? That's a whole different conversation here. But as for going into a fully functioning bathroom that's working well, no.
Yeah. And then we go into, there's some subcategories that go into this. If you have a bad tiling job, maybe it's pink or orange or from, 1970 teal, something like that. There are options for this. You don't necessarily have to rip it out. I've done it in houses. I've got a guy who does resurfacing, and it's like water resistant and relatively heat resistant, like a paint finish, and they can refinish those things for hundreds of dollars.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking about taking tiling out, reapplying tiling people are busy right now and they are expensive.
Yeah.
We're talking about $5,000, on a budget.
In a shower.
Yeah.
In a walk-in shower. That's
Yeah.
how much, it's going to be that.
And these refinishing products are incredible. They look great, and you can take something that's pink from 1972 and you can make it look beautifully
bright white.
Yep.
Yep. And really looks good. I've done it in a couple houses. It was a great option.
Yep. Fiberglass tubs and showers, they're generally fine, but if you have something that's dated, worn, and kind of dirty, again, we can refinish those for hundreds without having to tear it out, cut it all to pieces.
Yeah.
We've got great resources for that refinishing to make them literally look brand new.
Yeah. Generally speaking, fiberglass is a really good option, for a shower.
Yep.
Okay. Next floor.
Oh, you can pair that. So if you have a shower that you just get a nice curtain.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
something
shower,
decorative.
I mean, half the time people don't even open up the shower. They don't even look in. So like, what does it matter if it's tiling or not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a nice curtain in there, and it'll be great.
Yeah. Or even they have those doors.
Yep.
That are reasonable too, where you can put something nice that goes with your fixtures again, right? Okay. So.
Flooring, and this happens a lot in bathrooms. We get the dated linoleum; it's just been worn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Upgrade it.
Yeah.
You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to spend $1,000 a foot on tiling. Put something nice in.
You could put they have some really nice vinyl tiles and stuff like that too that are nice options that are non-grouted, because you get into grouting that can add some expense. That's not necessarily always going to get it back, but there's some really nice options for vinyl tiles.
What's really cool about that is that they have the texture too. So as for functionality, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yep. Fixtures, yep, always yes. Fixtures are just dynamite.
Every time.
It's a way to update for not a lot of money.
And when we talk about fixtures, we're talking about light fixtures, but we're also talking about mirrors.
Yep.
Because mirrors, if you put a nice framed mirror in there, that can really change the way that space feels entirely. It adds an element that is, it changes the way it photographs, it changes the way it feels when you walk in there. It's just going to make a difference.
Yep. Countertops. Yeah, generally this is a good idea because especially if you're already doing the kitchen, that same company can go and just pop the vanity top off and replace it.
Yeah.
And for really cost effective.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, like a bathroom vanity or something like that, I mean, you're under $1,000.
Yep.
You know. Yeah, install price.
Yep.
So that's money well spent, in my opinion. And also plumbing fixtures. Your plumbing fixtures need to be up to date, and
Faucets.
they need faucets, your shower heads and all that kind of stuff. Yes, absolutely. Every time.
And what's cool about that is what comes, a lot of times you can have your plumber in there to take care of everything as they make the changes for, as your new stuff comes in. So this isn't a lot of tremendous amount of work, right?
No.
Your countertop people come in, they measure, they pop it off for you, you reinstall that.
You're
comes
not
with
doing
new
any
sinks.
of that.
It comes with new sinks, and you come home and it's done.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep. It's awesome.
Yep. Okay, so general home changes. So this is your home as a whole.
As a whole.
What are the things that we focus on?
Okay, carpet. If you have worn carpet, replace it. Rip it up, put something new in. And everyone always says, well, what if they don't like what I put in? I can promise you, when a buyer walks in the door, them not having to replace carpet the day that they walk in, whether they like the color of it or not, is going to determine if they move forward or not. Yep. There's also such a thing as like pet allergies. Yep. People have a really big problem when there's been pets that live in the home and it's old carpet. They're already thinking in their brains they got to rip out that carpet anyway. So regardless of if they like it or not, new carpet is an absolute must 100% of the time. There's no question about it.
And you don't cheap out on it, okay? You don't go crazy, but you get a nice mid-level pad so that there's a really good feel to it.
You can even do a cheaper carpet with a really nice pad too.
But we also don't want to get to renter grade.
Yeah.
Because people can tell that.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go crazy on either of these two things, but very nice pad, a little bit above the bare minimum carpeting.
Yep. Trim.
I love this one.
Oh man. Okay, so This is one of those things where it's like people, you know, especially in the older generation houses, you know, they have that 2-inch trim. You should rip it out. You will get your money back when you replace trim and you put something that's in trend, a little thicker, it's nicer. It's, you know, you can get some trim guys in there that are really reasonable to do that work, or you can do it yourself. But
no, you cannot do it yourself.
If you're skilled, if you're a pro.
Yeah.
Again, if you're a pro, you know, you run into clients that are contractors that are pros, and they can do it well.
Yeah.
Yes, they can do it.
Okay.
And do it well. But if you have never done trim before, no, you cannot do it yourself.
No,
absolutely not.
Otherwise, you're going to leave the old in there.
Yeah.
If you have to do it yourself, leave it alone.
Yeah.
And we've seen that lesson get learned more than once.
Oh yeah.
If you can't do something perfectly,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. But yeah, trim is so cool because I didn't notice this until like later in my career, is that it's more of a feel thing, right? You can visually see it, if you assess it, but it's a feel because that's where the wear and the tear of your house shows up.
Yeah.
That's where the kids bang into the walls. That's where the animals, you know, scrape away at. That's just where things get run into, and you see the dings, and it's that used feeling of a house comes to play, and you can feel that in the back of your head. Yeah. So when that gets pulled out and put in new, the whole perception.
It just changes the way the house feels.
Yep.
Yep. You do that with some nice carpet.
Yep.
Impressive.
Bam. Yeah, and these are. The trim, I think, is above and beyond. That's that next step. Not necessarily, but it certainly is something that if you're willing to make.
Well, here's the other thing, and we haven't really talked about it, but painting is an absolute must. And if you are not a pro, don't do it.
Yep.
I am promising you, when you do a DIY paint job, people notice.
Yep.
And it's not okay. And also, another thing is with painting is painting over dirt.
Yeah.
It's gross.
You have to clean.
Yeah, you got to really deep clean before you do any of these projects with paint.
But if you didn't know that, then you shouldn't be painting.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you don't know, if you have to go on YouTube to learn the tricks of the trade, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
People don't want to buy your DIY project. They want to buy something nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We didn't add this, but we can talk about exteriors a little bit.
Yeah.
Roofs, if they're failing, and you know they're failing, yes.
You need to redo them.
You have to redo the roof.
And here's the thing that people don't realize about roofing, is that the price that you see insurance companies and stuff like that pay is not necessarily what they cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get like one of those 50s Ramblers, you can replace that roof for under 10 grand.
Yep, $8,000. Last one I did was $8,500 bucks. That's a new soffit roof.
Yep, soffit, fascia, the whole works, man. So, you know, you get into some of these bigger 2-stories. I mean, these $500,000-$600,000 houses, then they're 25. You know, but more often than not, it is a lot more cost effective to just buy the roof if you're not due for an insurance claim or something like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. That will pay off because you pull up. One, you can visually see it.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I noticed when every one of my showings. What are we doing? We're walking in, we're looking at the roof and the exterior.
That's the number one question I get asked as an agent is how old is the roof?
Oh, it's brand new. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Without question.
Yeah.
Another one, we didn't talk about this, windows.
Yeah.
Windows can be a major problem and a big deterrent for your house.
So maintain them.
Yes.
If they're getting condensation on them,
wipe them down. Don't just let water sit on wood.
Forever.
It will rot.
No, and it's going to cost you $30,000.
Yeah, that is not a cost-effective repair to make.
No.
It really is not. It just hurts.
Yeah.
Every single time.
You're just going to get stung. So take care of your windows or pay attention when you're buying. Yeah. You don't want to have to replace that.
Yeah.
Siding, same thing.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the flashing lines on the house because that doesn't just stay there.
Yeah.
It gets sucked in, goes on there. So if your house is that way, you have to get that cleaned up.
Yeah, you do. And you know, another thing that people don't think about with siding as you're going through houses, if you have cedar siding, you can replace it board by board.
Yes.
But know that if you're replacing cedar siding board by board, that you have to paint it. Okay? Or stain it or whatever, you know.
Yep.
So I like cedar siding a lot, actually, as an agent, because you don't have to rip off everything on the house when you have some rotted boards.
Yeah.
you know,
you can find the problem, uncover it, and fix it.
yeah,
Put it back together.
exactly.
Great.
So that's actually a really good siding type. It's more expensive overall if you're redoing a whole house. But if you have a cedar sided house, that's fine. It's totally fine. And honestly, it's great for maintenance long term.
All right. So to wrap this up, what we're saying is pay attention to the weight of your remodel because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So don't have to go crazy.
Yeah.
And then 2, as we broke down these changes, we talked about very cosmetic stuff, right? And stuff that's not a lot of effort, right? Going down to the granite shop on the weekend, picking out a slab of granite.
It's a couple hours.
It's a couple hours, and then they do it all for you, okay? Your painter comes over, your painter does it for you, okay? Your tiling guy comes over, do the backsplash, he does it for you, right? We're not talking about tearing your house apart and stretching a 2-month, cosmetic upgrade fix over a year and a half to stress you out. We're not doing that.
No.
Okay, the trim, only if you're into it, but even if you are into it and you're in the trades, do you really want to work on the weekends again?
Right.
So scale it down, make it about feel, make it about presenting a product that's polished, but don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Don't pull your house apart.
Yeah.
Have Home Depot come over. There's a free plug.
Yeah.
They'll measure and they'll put it in. They're going to install for free. At least they are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
don't bite off more than you can chew. And first and foremost, have us sit down. We'll tell you what to do.
Tell you exactly what to do.
Most importantly, we're going to tell you what not to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the big kicker.
Yeah. Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, press the like button.
A lot. And hey, your comments, we'll take them and we'll run with them.
I told you. This topic right here
came from one of our comments. Yeah. So if you want to hear about something, let us know.
Past client texted me, said, hey, I love your stuff. Would you talk about this next week? We said, for sure.
Yeah, without question.
All right.
Later.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.